Hello everyone, Charles Watts here. Welcome back to Inside Arsenal. It is Monday. We are heading very, very quickly towards New Year's Eve in 2025. I hope you're having a good day wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. No Arsenal, of course. We've got a little bit longer to wait until that game against Brentford on New Year's Day. Everyone else seems to be playing. We had loads of football yesterday. Got more the next couple of days, and Arsenal have to wait until New Year's Day to kick things off against Brentford. So we're going to talk about that in today's show. We'll look at some of the big decisions facing Mikel Arteta, especially when it comes to his attack. Do you stick with what you went with against Ipswich, which got you a win, but let's face it, it was hardly inspiring? Or do you twist and do you change things up a little bit and give something else a little bit of a go as you sort of search for a formula that Arsenal can work with in the absence of Bukayo Saka? So we're going to talk about that in today's show. Have a little rundown on what went on in football yesterday. Got some comments and questions from you guys. Lots of reaction to Alexander Isak and that £150 million price tag, which Newcastle have reportedly slapped on a striker that we know that Arsenal are pretty keen on. So, yeah, plenty to get stuck into today. I hope the lighting's all right. I'm recording this really early doors because I'm heading off taking the kids to Winter Wonderland in Hyde Park today. So having to record this pretty early. So, yeah, hopefully it's fine. It seems like it's okay. Yeah, if you're in Hyde Park today and you're like me, getting dragged around insanely expensive fairground rides, and then come and say hello. Saying it, I am quite looking forward to it. I think it should be fun. Anyway, right, let's get started, shall we? And we'll start on some of the big decisions facing Mikel Arteta, I think. And there's no bigger than the right-hand side, which we know at the moment is the big talking point at Arsenal. What are they going to do without Bukayo Saka? We saw the first sort of glimpses of that against Ipswich the other day, and it was Gabriel Martinelli who started on the right-hand side. Been some mixed opinions on how Gabby did in that game. I didn't think he did too badly. I didn't think he was brilliant by any means, but I didn't think he did too badly. I thought there's some decent signs. I thought he played a part in the goal. He whipped the ball in nicely with his right foot. The cross that ended up going to Leandro Trossard. There was some good moments for him, certainly defensively. Do you want to see more from him? Yes. Do you need to see more from him? Yes, if he's going to do that long term on the right-hand side. But you've got to remember, this is the first game. It is going to, it's not a case of just dropping someone into that position and Arsenal are going to fire straight away. It's going to take a bit of getting used to for us as fans, but for the players as well, because for so long we've been so reliant on just looking up on the right-hand side and seeing Bukayo Saka over there, and then you just don't really have to worry. But now, obviously, Arsenal do have to worry. And so it's a big decision for Arteta. I think, personally, he will probably stick with Gabby. I'd be surprised after just that one showing that we'll see a big, big change in terms of what he's going to do. I think Arteta would probably looked at Martinelli's performance against Ipswich, and I don't think he would have been overly disappointed with it. Like I said, I think he would have seen some good points in it. He would certainly seen some bits that he needs to improve on, and I'm sure him and the coaching staff will be drilling that into Martinelli at London Colney in the build-up to the Brentford game. But I think there's probably parts of it that he liked as well. I mean, the key thing is he just got to get himself in more dangerous areas, because as much as I said he did okay, you sort of look at his numbers at the end of the game. I don't think he had a shot. I don't think he had a key pass, things like that. And obviously that can't go on. You've got to impact the game from that right-hand side, because that right-hand side is so crucial to how Arsenal play. And hopefully he will go on and do that. And you've got to remember, it's just the game before that at Crystal Palace when he played over on the right-hand side. He scored a goal and was a real threat over there as well. So it's a work in progress, and I'd just be surprised if you rip that all up and change it after one start against Ipswich. So I think Martinelli will probably start. You look at the other options he's got. Obviously, Ethan Nwaneri is an option that a lot of people call for, which is understandable. And as I've said before, he definitely kind of is more in the Bukayo Saka profile than Gabriel Martinelli is. He's left-footed for a start, so he can be on the right-hand side and he can cut in on that left foot. And we know how dangerous he can be. We've seen him score some outrageous goals with that left foot for the youth team and for the first team now, cutting in and bending one towards that far corner. So he can definitely play there. I think he's definitely an option that Mikel will probably utilise over the coming weeks. I'm just not sure he will do it straight away at Brentford. I think Martinelli will probably start that game. And I think the other sort of key thing for Arsenal is, if Martinelli started on the right side, what do you do with Jesus? So Jesus has been in a great run of form. He had those two brilliant games against Crystal Palace. He scored loads of goals in those two games. So I thought he's definitely going to keep his place in the game against Ipswich. Again, I didn't think he played too badly against Ipswich. He was unlucky with the offside goal. He was very close to getting another one, obviously, with that one that was ruled out by the flag. But do you change things a little bit? Do you move Kai Havertz back up front? Do you take Jesus out? And the main reason I'm saying that is not because he had a poor performance against Ipswich, but I think that's one of the key things that lots of people picked up on. I think I've got it here, actually. Yeah, this was a starting lineup that we saw in the game against Ipswich, obviously. So you had Martinelli, Jesus, and Trossard as the front three, obviously, with Declan Rice playing as the 6, and you had Havertz and Odegaard in the 2-8 roles. I think the key thing there is when you look at the substitutes, isn't it? You go through them: Partey, Marino, Tierney, Kivior, Zinchenko, Jorginho, Neto, Calafiori, Nwaneri. There is just no attacking options really on the bench other than Nwaneri if you're looking at to change the game. If you're playing with all these players on the pitch, can you influence the game? If it doesn't work, can you influence the game from the bench enough with that list of substitutes? And, lots of people are pointing that and thinking no. I'm a bit on the fence about it because, as I said, in the absence of Saka, I think you probably need as many of your goal scorers on the pitch at one time as possible to try and cope with the absence of the lack of Saka goals and lack of Saka assists that Arsenal are going to have. And so it made sense to me, especially at home to Ipswich, to have Havertz and Odegaard playing behind that front three. Brentford, potentially a different story, going to be a much trickier game. We know how unbelievably strong they are at home, especially this season. We know how many goals they score at home this season. It's going to be an incredibly tough fixture for Arsenal. Do you want to leave some sort of thing on the reserve, on the bench? I go back to a couple of years ago when Arsenal won at Brentford, or was it even last season when Arsenal? It wasn't last season when Arsenal won at Brentford 1-0. I think they brought on Kai Havertz about 20 minutes to go at 0-0, and he ended up scoring the winner in the last minute. So he influenced the game, changed the game from the substitutes bench. Do you want to leave something in reserve and so play potentially Havertz back at number 9, leave Jesus on the bench, and then if you need him in the second half, you can bring Jesus on. You've got not just Nwaneri sitting on the bench as an attacking option, but you've got Jesus as well. So I think they're really key things for Arteta to try and sort of work out. I think in midfield, you look at how Brentford play, especially at home, and as I said, the amount of goals that they score and how much of a threat they are. The front two and Mbeumo and Wissa, the partnership they have is just absolutely exceptional. The goals that they score, the counter-attacking goals they score, they've got pace, movement, quality, technique. They're a really dangerous team. They score so many goals. So what, is just Rice on his own holding, is that a strong enough option for Arsenal? I wouldn't be surprised if he changes it for this game and has Partey and then moves Rice into the 8 role and Jesus drops out and Havertz goes up front. If you see what I mean, I think it just adds a little bit more protection to your defence to sort of counter, to try and stop those sort of counter attacks that we maybe see with Brentford. And it also leaves you a little bit of extra firepower on the bench if needed in the second half, if the game is tight. So some really important decisions for Mikel Arteta to make. And it's a massive game for Arsenal. They've got so many home games coming up, but before those home games, they've got 2, Brighton away, Brentford away. Very, very difficult away day in the space of a few days. And the way that Liverpool are going, and we'll talk about Liverpool in a minute, you just got to, if you want to have any ambition of winning this title, which is, it's looking difficult at the moment just because of the runaway train that Liverpool are. But if you do still harbour ambitions, and Arsenal do, of catching them, you've got to pick up 3 points in both of these away games. And that's going to be hard for Arsenal to do. They did it last season, so it's not impossible, but it's going to be hard to Arsenal to do. And I think how Mikel handles his starting 11 for this game and potentially his substitutes as well is going to be really, really crucial to that. Right, we'll talk about Liverpool yesterday. Obviously, but another 5-0 win. I didn't watch the whole game. I watched the highlights, watched Match of the Day. I was actually out for dinner yesterday and I checked the score at half time. I hadn't looked at all, and I was like, just hoping West Ham might have done everyone a favour. And I looked at the score around the restaurant table and I was just like, oh my God. Everyone's like, what? Thinking something disastrous had happened. It's like, Liverpool winning 3-0. And obviously it's game over at that point. And it was just another brilliant win for Liverpool. Mo Salah's just an absolute cheat code. He's basically having a Ballon d'Or type season, Mo Salah at the moment. And it's very hard to see Liverpool falling off this train that they're on because they've just got so much momentum now. They've got so much confidence. They've got that just... They feel like they're going to win every single game. They feel like they're going to score loads of goals in every single game. We've seen what that can do to teams in the past. We saw what it did to Arsenal in the second half of last season. You just get on these trains and it's very, very difficult to come off it, to fall off it. And Man City have done it. Arsenal have done it in the past 2 seasons and Liverpool are doing it now. For Arsenal, you just got to keep going and hope that somewhere along the line, Liverpool are going to stumble. Maybe they get an injury to a couple of players. And then you see how they deal with them. But at the moment, it's looking very, very difficult. I mean, they were just so good yesterday. The goals that they scored going forward. I mean, West Ham were abysmal, obviously, defensively, once again, as they have been all season. But Liverpool took full advantage of it. And now they're 8 points clear at the top of the Premier League. And that is a big, big gap going into the new year. But there's still plenty of time to go. Right, a bit of reaction now from the Alexander Isak stuff we were talking about yesterday. The very blue blood says 150 million for Isak is not exorbitant if Arsenal are a serious club. But then Norris underneath that says he's not worth anywhere near 150 million. Newcastle know that. They're just pricing him out of a move. Yamasema says get 3 players instead of 1 for 150 million. No chance any team is paying 150. Mr. D Mark there says Isak is not 150 million good and injury prone to boot. Gyökeres and Kudos for the same money makes much more sense. Ochi, I think that is underneath, says 150 million can get us Nico Williams at 60 and 85 million for Victor. Gyökeres, that is. Tobias says you could get Semenya, Lookman and Mbeumo for that. So lots of difference in an opinion in terms of Alexander Isak and 150 million. You all know my thoughts on Isak. I love Alexander Isak. I think he'd be brilliant from Arsenal. I'd love him to sign for the club. 150 million, though. I mean, for me, that's just ridiculous money. It's so much. As people here have pointed out, you can get 3 top quality players for that potentially, who could make a huge difference to the squad. It's a huge gamble, 150 million on any player. Obviously, I do think he's brilliant, and I would love him to come to Arsenal. But I think 150 million is pushing it for me. I can't really get my head around those sort of figures at the moment. 100 million is mad enough, but 150 million, it's tough to get my head around that, especially when you could potentially stack your squad with 3 top quality players, as people have said. Sort of listed some of them there. You know, Victor Gyökeres and Nico Williams. You get those 2 in for around the same sort of money, then that's pretty exciting as well. And that's before you think of players like Semenyo, you know, Ademola Lookman, who's having such an incredible couple of years at the moment in Italy, in Mbeumo, who I'm a big fan of, and there's other players out there as well. So yeah, if 150 million is really the realistic target that Newcastle are thinking of for Isak, then I would have my doubts whether that's something Arsenal should do. But and I don't think they would do it anyway. So it's not a case of what Arsenal should do. I just don't think they would pay that sort of money. I don't think they could. So that would certainly, as Norris says there, price him out of a move when it comes to Arsenal. So we'll see on that. But thank you very much for all your reaction. Appreciate it as always. Dark and Bright here has got in touch. He says, watching Liverpool play so flawless compared to how laborious our approach is and how we move the ball so slowly, and watching Liverpool attackers compared to what we have is just light years ahead of us. Again, Edu and Arteta are responsible, and there should be consequences if he fails to win anything significant this season. See, I don't really, the whole comparisons of, I just don't think you can always compare. Liverpool are a better attacking team than Arsenal. They are. They've got better attacking players than Arsenal. You can't always be the best team in the world and the best attacking team in the world. It just doesn't always happen. You can't always have Henry, Bergkamp, Pires, and players like that. You know, Liverpool are a brilliant team to watch, absolutely. But in the last year, the calendar year, I think, you know, Arsenal have lost 3 games. They've won more than anyone else. They've got more points than anyone else. They've conceded fewer goals than anyone else. They've scored more goals than anyone else, I think it was, certainly before the West Ham game. So they're not a bad team. Do they play as good a football as Liverpool at the moment? No, they don't. Does that mean that they're a bad team? No, it doesn't. It just means they play a slightly different sort of brand of football at the moment than this free-flowing Liverpool team are playing, who have got brilliant attacking players and better attacking players than Arsenal. Do I want to see Arsenal get to the sort of standard Liverpool are when it comes to attack? Absolutely, I do. But this is still an Arsenal team that scores lots of goals. You know, you're talking about Liverpool here. You're getting frustrated watching Liverpool score 5 against West Ham, thinking, I wish Arsenal could do that. I mean, 3 weeks ago, Arsenal did do that. They did it in the first half against West Ham. They scored 5 goals in 45 minutes at West Ham. So, you know, a couple of games ago, they scored 5 goals at Crystal Palace. A few games before that, they scored 5 goals at Sporting Lisbon. They can score goals. They score plenty of goals. Are they always as good as Liverpool when it comes to attack? No, they can't. But I just don't. The whole comparison about Arsenal have to be as good as attacking team as Liverpool, I just doesn't. It just you can't be that. It can't always be like that. You've just got to, you know, there's definitely room for improvement. I understand, but yeah, I don't get the whole comparison of we have look how good they are when it comes to playing football. That's what we have to play like. It's like, look, give me a win at the end of the day. Give me wins, plenty of them. And Arsenal in the last 2 years have got plenty of them. Has it been enough? No, unfortunately it hasn't. Is it going to be enough this season? At the moment, it looks like it's probably not. And you just got to hold your hands up at one point and say, look, Liverpool are having an unbelievable season that probably none of us really expected. They've got, who, in my mind, the best player in the world right now, who's doing just unbelievable things week in, week out. And when that happens, you're just going to benefit hugely from it. And Liverpool benefit hugely from what Mo Salah is doing at the moment, every single game, home and away. and they are reaping the benefits of that, and they are getting so many goals and so many points because of that. And unfortunately, Arsenal don't have a Mo Salah. But there's only one Mo Salah, unfortunately enough. But thank you very much for your comment. Adam here has got in touch and says, "Hi, Charles. Is there a possibility of signing Sesko on loan or buying him in January? They obviously had interest in the player and were willing to pay good money, but things have gone quiet after that, and only other targets have been mentioned for upcoming windows. Leipzig are only really playing for a Champions League place and look like it's likely to exit the Europa. Clearly wouldn't be prem proven, but definitely add some much needed energy to our front line. I don't think so in January. No, Arsenal, we know, put a lot of work into potentially signing Benjamin Sesko last summer. It didn't happen. He ended up staying and signing his new contract with Leipzig. As I said at the time, that doesn't mean that Arsenal now will sort of wash their hands with Sesko. They will continue to monitor him. But I don't think it's something that would happen in January. I think it would be the summer again at the end of the season, that if they were to go back to Leipzig and to sort of discuss the possibility of Sesko, it would be in the summer, not in January. I think it was made pretty clear that for the season anyway, he is staying in Germany. So no, I don't think, Adam, that will be one to really sort of keep our eye on in January. But come the summer, potentially so. Right, that's it from me today, everyone. Thank you very much for your time. As always, I really do appreciate it. Have a fantastic day wherever you're watching or listening to this around the world. I'll be back tomorrow to do it all over again. Until then, speak to you soon. Bye-bye.